Hi. If you're here, that means you've made it to day 3 of 100 Days of 6-Minute Stories. That means there's only 97 to go. And I decided about 1 minute ago that it was also going to be a little bit of a show and tell, which is exciting. Um, so I am very vocal about one of the most difficult experiences in my life. And this was losing one of my closest friends when I was in high school. Taking a little bit of a step back, my experience with death has been pretty vast from an early age. I would say in my whole family. My Ghanaian side is so large, and in African families, the culture is extended. So you have family friends, um, people that are elders, that are of all different ages, and obviously just life circumstances. You're going to know someone who has passed on. So growing up, I had sort of a weird fascination with death. It was never personally near us, but we would sometimes get news in the middle of the night that someone had passed away, and it obviously affected my mother very deeply because these were siblings or relatives or friends, people that she grew up with. And it got to a point, I remember in first grade, where I had a fear of when the phone rang in the middle of the night because I knew that meant that my mother would be sad. So even now, I still am trying to understand how people process death. And in the States, it's such a different mindset. I've been reading this book, or I finished this book, From Here to Eternity, which spotlights all of the many of the different ways people grieve in cultures around the world, by Caitlin Dowdy. She missed Africa, which is the only complaint I have, but it was very interesting to understand how people grieve. And the first time that I really had to deal with it on a personal level, I wasn't prepared. As much as I thought that I understood death and how I would grieve, it was something that I didn't think would touch me at such a young age. I knew I missed my grandmother. I thought about her often, but I hadn't seen her that much growing up. And I still cried about her, but to me, she was like a spirit guide in my life. But when I found out that one of my best friends had passed on, you feel helpless. So I remember wondering how I was going to get through the funeral. How was I going to be able to process my emotions and face people? So there was one night, the night before the viewing, where I went into my mother's room. She called me into her room and she said, "Andrea, let me dress you." So to explain, in Ghana, we have different claws that are different, have different symbols, adinkra symbols in different colors, and they mean different things. And in our culture, we wear black and white to mourn people. So she dressed me We were very quiet. She sat me down and put me in this dress. And because I didn't know how, she wrapped my head wrap for me. And my mom loves expensive perfume. So I just remember soaking in her perfume. And she let me lie here while I cried, dressed in traditional clothes. I've always felt close to my mother, but it is a memory that has changed me. The delicacy, the patience, understanding that she has gone through this time and time again. Her knowing that at that age, as I grow up, there are going to be more experiences that I have to deal with this. And just knowing that her holding me in that moment was meant to give me strength, not only for the funeral the next day, but for all of the grief that I may have to struggle with in the future. So this really was a story about motherhood and how little things really stick with you for a lifetime. Little words, touch, memory, smell, and how grateful I am for it. Here is not the dress I wore, but it's an example of our clothes, and I'll see you tomorrow.